You're listening to the Scandalous Beauty Podcast, a makeup and beauty show hosted by Erin Bainham. Support for the Scandalous Beauty Podcast is brought to you by Ebates. When purchasing from your favorite products like Sephora, Target, Ulta, all of the places, you can get money back on those purchases. When you sign up today, you'll also receive a $10 bonus in your bank account or PayPal after your first $25 purchase. For more information, head on over to scandalousbeautyonline.com/cashback or use the link in the show notes. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. On the last two episodes of the Scandalous Beauty Podcast, we interviewed makeup artist Malika James, who is the makeup artist for Being Mary Jane, among many other things. And she is also a healthcare advocate, where she believes that healthy skin comes directly from your diet and what you put in your body. So here's a quick clip.
Really, a lot of us already have the makeup. We already have our makeup wardrobe. It's just now really figuring out how to tackle the canvas before you even put the makeup on. You know, you may not even need to highlight under your eye no more because it's kind of light under there already. You know, you can have a little bit of concealer and do what you do, but not as much as you used to. Like, I think that's the cool part. Like, you don't have to use as much makeup. You can still have all these crazy eyeshadows and all these fun lipsticks, but you know, the foundation concealer kind of shifts a little bit because your body's like, oh, this is how I look. This is how I'm supposed to look. You know what? My goal is for women to meet their better self. Like, I want people to see themselves after a cleanse. Like, after you really meet your real self, because like that ain't your real self.
I have to definitely say, those two episodes had a direct impact on me. I have been drinking more water ever since the day I interviewed Malika. So please go back and listen to those because they were phenomenal. But today I am hyped because we are talking to makeup artist Billy B, an icon in my life. And he is discussing so many things, including how he got discovered, his assistant that is now a celebrity in his own right with a penthouse, okay? Some of his most iconic looks and iconic videos that he's worked on. We're going to go backstage. He's got some behind the scenes info for us that you're going to be really surprised about, I'm sure. We're also going to discuss the opportunity that Billy gave me that I didn't take advantage of, that I sometimes regret. And he's also going to open up about some things he's never discussed before. So we have some exclusives happening on this very podcast. So get ready. Here it comes. Let's dive into the episode. Billy Brasfield, you are here. Thank you so much for joining us on the Scandalous Beauty Podcast today. You actually are the first person I've ever really interviewed. And that was, I don't know, like 6, 7, 8 years ago, and so much has happened in that time frame. So let's just go ahead and talk about how you got started as a makeup artist. You have a great story.
So much has happened for both of us because you're a mom, you got married.
That's true. I'm not in my parents' basement. Yeah, it's like
right.
Everything is popping off. So that's true.
Yeah.
So yeah,
popping big time. So what did you say again? What are we talking about?
Oh, just how you got started as a makeup artist.
Oh, it's not some magical story. I never even dreamt of being a makeup artist. It wasn't something that I really aspired to be. What I aspired to do was to get the hell out of Mississippi. And then the makeup artist stuff happened by accident. Basically, I concocted a way to get to New York and had to have a job. And the only thing I'd ever done was retail. The only store I knew of was Macy's because I would see it on television every Thanksgiving on the Macy's parade. Oh. And I went in there and, this hillbilly fresh off the turnip truck. And I said, I need a job. And they were like, have you ever done makeup? And I was like, sure. And I had no idea that I would have to interview with a company, the actual cosmetic company, that it was on the main floor at Macy's on 34th Street, which is, I don't know if you've ever, if you're, people are familiar, but you're thrown into it's like a Shark Tank. And that's how I taught myself. I taught myself how to do makeup on real women on the floor at Macy's.
That's nutty. So you went
Yeah.
from throwing yourself in that way to doing the biggest stars of the 90s and the 2000s. That's nuts.
You know, and never studied makeup and never assisted, not one time.
That is.
So I didn't even know what that was. I didn't even know there was a world of, you know, the world that we know and the industry as we know it. I didn't even know. I was so unsophisticated. I had never even thought about it. I didn't know that that's what people did. I just thought women wore makeup and I sold it to them.
Wow.
So I was kind of discovered on the main floor at Macy's, and then, you know, a photographer ended up discovering me. And then the rest went very fast, and the rest is history. I mean, I will say you know, tested and did all the normal stuff, you know, trying to put a book together. But for me, it wasn't years and years and years of that. It happened, like, now when I look back, it happened very quick. I was very lucky. So I went from, you know, doing retail and making no money whatsoever and barely surviving in New York to making, you know, like $1,000 a day overnight. And back then, that was a lot of money. It's a lot of money now, but, you know, back then it really was.
Yeah, yeah. That's nuts. So, okay, like, I'm just going to go ahead and say that when I found out that you were the artist behind so many iconic videos that we had all loved, I mean, so much of Lauryn Hill that, you know, our Lauryn Hill and Missy and Mary and all these people, how did you, as a white male with barely any experience, learn to perfect?
And no swag. I mean, I was like really, really, I'm not kidding, like super, my accent was so like Southern that people, you know, thought that I was from some weird country. Not the country, not like country as in out in the country, but like some other foreign country. I had to study phonetics so that people could understand me.
Wow.
Wow. I'm not kidding. I had to take a phonetics class. Because, you know, I talked like Southern slang. You know, it'd be like, well, I'm fixing to go out there and change the tire on the car. You know, or I reckon I'll do it. You know, it was like it was kind of its own language. And so, you know, the whole celebrity thing is weird because the photographer, when I first started as a makeup artist, there was no celebrity-driven anything. It was all fashion. It was Kevin Aquan and, you know, was the makeup artist of the time. And, you know, it was all about fashion and editorial. There weren't celebrities on magazine covers. It was when Christy and Linda and Cindy and, you know, supermodels were on covers of magazines. It was when fashion was really fashion. And it was a magical time. It was the late 80s, early 90s. And no one was doing celebrities, but the photographer that discovered me was a celebrity photographer. So it was a little bit of a curse, really, because no one gave a shit about celebrities from a, you know, makeup kind of point of view. Things weren't driven by the whole celebrity phenomenon. And that's what I did every day. You know, like Justine Bateman at the time, Family Ties was like a huge television show. You know, it was like Justine Bateman and the actors of the time. And, you know, that's not really a way to parlay into fashion. And that's really what I wanted to do. And I ultimately did achieve that, but it was just kind of backwards for me. Everything was kind of backwards. Like I accidentally became a makeup artist. I did go to Paris for a short time, but really where I started my career was in Brazil. And no one ever thinks of Brazil as a fashion anything, but, you know, I had an opportunity and it was, there were a couple of magazines there and no American makeup artists were going. And so I saw an opportunity, so I went, and that's where I put a book together, was in Brazil.
Oh.
You never knew that part of the story, huh?
No, I didn't.
It's funny, I think I leave that out a lot.
Yeah.
But that's really, Brazil was a huge part of me, you know, kind of skipping some steps, I think.
Wow.
You know, most people went to Paris and paid their dues or went to Milan and, you know, really struggled. And I went to Brazil and had no competition. It was like, ba-ding.
Wow.
So, it worked for me. Yeah, it was cool. And I just noticed on Instagram, you know, when you go and you look at what's it called? The percent, you like who is, whether your audience is male or female, what country they're from. Have you ever done that in your Instagram?
Yeah, the demographics.
Guess what mine is? Mine is the majority Brazil.
What?
Isn't that crazy? I had no idea. I mean, I don't have like crazy like Manny the makeup artist followers or Huda, but I haven't been on Instagram that long. I have like a little over 18,000 followers.
Yeah.
And probably 80% of that is the country of Brazil.
That is.
And I did not become a famous makeup artist in Brazil. I don't know what the connect is, actually.
I am dying to figure that out because that does not make any sense.
Me too. But I'll just say to my Brazil people, what up? If anybody catches this podcast. But I just thought that was so strange. I just noticed that like yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of, you know, almost equal 50-50 male and female audience.
Okay, that's kind of also unheard of.
I think that's another weird thing. But I guess because my career is so celebrity driven that my followers end up being really, a lot of the time, most of them are, I think, hardcore makeup artists. Mm-hmm. They're either makeup artists themselves or aspiring makeup artists, but also, you know, it's Pink fans, it's Lady Gaga fans, it's people, die-hard fans that knew the eras that I was responsible for those artists. And, you know, they end up following me in social media or whatever. Yeah,
that does make sense. And I have that on my list of questions. We are going to get to that. So,
okay. So you asked me about how did I get, you know, how did the black girls find me?
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to, you know, when I was working at Macy's back in the day, cosmetic companies didn't even have, you know, because you're African American, didn't have ranges of color darker than, you know, a white person that got a little too tan. You know what I mean? Like there was just no range there. And I worked for a company that was a Revlon company at Macy's, and the same thing. They had no makeup for women of color. And I was always fascinated with that palette. Like I, you know, really was dying to experiment with that. It's a completely different thing than doing makeup for lighter complexions. It's far more exciting, much more fun. You can use way more makeup, much more saturated color. It's just a lot more fun for me as a makeup artist. So I would cross the aisle to Flory Roberts, honey. And I would get that Flory Roberts and I would holler at their clients and go over to Flory Roberts and, you know, double time at Flory Roberts and taught myself how to do makeup on women of color. Probably the first high profile, this is going to be controversial because people are going to be like, bootleg. But, you know, when Mariah first came out, you know, the whole black thing was kind of squashed by Sony, that she was half black. No one really knew that. Of course I did. But, you know, she was probably the first famous person that now certainly, you know, identifies with her African-American, you know, father and heritage. But once I started working with Mariah became a huge superstar overnight. And, you know, because of that, my career also got catapulted, certainly. But really the first thing was TLC, was probably when it really went through the roof. LaFace Records kind of discovered me, and I started working with TLC. They became huge. Toni Braxton became huge. Basically any female artist that LaFace Records had, I did the makeup for. You know, all the one-hit wonders to the people that were big stars on the label, like TLC. Then the way it works in music, or it did that time, any new artist, I think this is just human nature, where people have to compare everybody to someone else. Like, at you as a beauty blogger. Well, she's not like this beauty blogger, but more like that beauty blogger. No, you're who you are. Do you know what I mean? But everybody always has to sort of put people in a box. So when record labels would sign a girl group, they'd be like, we want our version of TLC. All right, well, who does TLC? Who made them stars? So then my agent got the call. So then it's Destiny's Child. And it just goes down the list like that. I mean, I can go on and on and on. But, then I started working with Mary. Then, Missy came along, and she was just the girl that was singing like hooks for people and was a producer. And she was doing little cameos and videos and stuff. And I met her like that in a cameo, doing a cameo. And nobody had ever beat her down, ever. Like, she had never, ever, ever seen herself like that. And, that, we'll get back to that because that's a whole chapter in itself is, the experience and the success that I had with Missy and what a phenomenal, visual artist she is. I've been very lucky. But once, the moral of the story is once you hit it big with someone and you kind of prove yourself, they were colorblind. Nobody gave a shit that I was white. They really didn't. Lauryn Hill, which I know you were a huge fan of. That's, I think, how you first fell in love with me as a makeup artist, is the work that I did with her.
Yes.
But, I would literally be the only white person, on the crew, sometimes for blocks and blocks, depending on where we were or what we were doing, honey. That Saturday night at the Apollo, and there I am, this old white man up in there with, Anyway, it was an amazing, amazing experience. But, makeup for me was about just what I was saying. It's working with women of color, not as people, but as an object, like as a face, is just far more exciting to me than I don't know how to explain it. You know this, though. Women of color can wear a lot more makeup and it not look like it.
Yeah.
You can wear a lot of color and it looks amazing. You don't look like a clown. So I think that it just became a passion of mine, and it just ended up becoming a huge, huge part of my career. Certainly as equal as anything else I ever did, if not more dominant. But almost every Black, R&B singer or pop star of the 90s, I did them at some point.
It's nutty to me because, I mean, I don't know how many times I've looked at like your site and your work over the years, but as I go down Instagram and I'm like, there's nobody that you haven't worked with. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, a lot of the time you'll send me a message and you'll be like, what? You did this? Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Blows my mind.
And it's something that now is vintage. You know what I mean? It's something that's iconic from a long time ago. Yeah. And I mean, that's what's fun about my career, I think, and what people enjoy in my social media is if you were a child of the 90s, if you were growing up with the 90s and those kind of celebrities or that music is what you grew up with, my career is literally the visual soundtrack of your life. Yeah. And so I think that people heavily emotionally connect to my work. I know that sounds crazy.
Yes.
But, the way people react on Instagram, some of their comments is like, oh my God, you literally did everything that made an impression on me, in my teenage years.
Yes.
I realized that you're responsible for it and I had no idea. That kind of stuff. And it means so much to me.
Yes. You absolutely nailed it, because I'm looking at this and thinking it was right when most of us, like, I'm 32. It's when a lot of us started to fall in love with makeup, that the things that were inspiring us was what we were seeing in magazines and what we were seeing in music videos. And I'm like looking at Mary J. Blige and Rainy Days, and I'm like, oh, is that why I bought MAC Cranberry eyeshadow? Like, there are these colors and these things that I'm looking at, and it's just like,
Except there was a red eyeshadow from Hard Candy. I still remember.
Really?
Isn't that funny? Yeah, it was a Hard Candy. It was the red from Hard Candy. And I think it was a little tin that they came in. And they had really vibrant colors like cobalt blue and emerald green. Do you remember those?
Yes, because they used to be in like Nordstrom. I remember they were like really high end before, in the high end side. And
and I was obsessed. And that red looked, red eyeshadow isn't easy for anybody to wear. It's very kind of not Charles Manson, but Marilyn Manson. It's very kind of, it's hard to do it. And it can be very goth. And Mary is so not that. I mean, she's such a fashionista and a fashion icon or whatever.
Yeah.
And, she was really absolutely one of my favorites. I mean, always, always, always inspired by her. Still am.
Yeah.
But I just got the nicest message through social media. I don't know if it was Twitter or something, but a African-American female sent me a message and said, I just want to thank you. I looking at your work, I realized that you were such a huge part of what changed the perception of Black women in the media. That's deep, honey. I was like, okay, I might have made them pretty. I don't know about all that. You know what I mean? But what a nice compliment. I mean, just kind of sat back and let it soak in.
Wow.
And then, I can see, I guess, what she was talking about. I mean, I just, tried to look at every face just as the face and not what it was connected to. So if it was the face of an R&B singer, I didn't try and make her look like an R&B singer. It was about her face. That's the way I've always tried to approach my work. And I think that maybe that is what she was talking about. Like maybe it helped some people get out of the box that they were in, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I love it. That says so much. And you're absolutely right, because I don't think I'd ever seen colors and beauty. And I don't know. I mean, so much has changed since then, but I do remember finding that day, realizing you were the one doing all this work, and it just effed me up like that. I just, this is why I had to jump on YouTube, whatever day that was, and make a video about you, and just, that's why you've been my favorite since I found your work. And I'm not going to.
Well, that's so sweet. I mean, I was just going to say to your listeners that, and if you, all you got to do is look back at her archives, because the videos and stuff, she used to give me shout outs just when you first started, like a long time ago on YouTube.
Yeah.
You did like entire videos about, I just have to talk about this makeup artist. And, that's how we met.
Yes.
And that's why we're still friends. It's just your sincerity and stuff just always meant so much to me in terms of, that you noticed and that you cared. And, that means a lot. So we've known each other for a long time, girl.
It has been so long, and I'm thankful for every door that you open for me and the things that you've introduced me to. And I just,
you come backstage with me and all kinds of stuff, huh?
Oh my God. Do you know, like when people ask me, they're like, what are some of like the pivotal moments in your blogging career? I'm like, I was backstage at a show, and you know what really still kind of fucks with me a little bit is that I was too scared. I was watching you do the demo, and you stacked the lashes, and when you stacked the lashes, I was like, there's no way in hell I can do this. Like, I have no idea how to get lashes on myself that look realistic. So,
but this is what I love. Not long ago, I was looking at, I was on YouTube or something, and found a not my behind the scenes, but it was a behind the scenes of a show. And was it Pat Field? Patricia Field? Is that where you were backstage at?
No, it was the Blondes.
Okay, the Blondes. But it was some version of a behind the scenes. And there's this whole moment of you, like this journalistic kind of cinematic moment where you're filming me, but you're so intense at it. And it was from a different kind of place, like a makeup artist. It was like, you're a journalist. I mean, you were really invested in bringing that to your audience. That's what I took away from this thing that I just saw recently when I saw you, and I was like, look at her.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, you were like filming it, and it was interesting to watch from that perspective.
Oh yes.
I've always thought of you. You're much more than a beauty enthusiast.
Yes.
You're smarter than just that.
I'm like, don't cry. Okay.
Okay. No, but you are. You are. I've always thought so. Why do you think I'm on the phone with you, bitch? I ain't gonna spend my time just talking to any hoe.
I'm so honored.
No, but for real, I had forgotten that you went backstage with me on that show.
Well, I will never, ever, 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 I mean, well, you know, you have a very packed life. You've had tons of experiences. For a girl like me that was like doing videos in my parents' basement, and to even get that, you know, I remember the moment vividly. And the thing about it, and hopefully people will learn from this, is that could have been just the way that that photographer found you that day. That could have been the day that I did my first model. I mean, there's some of those models that were backstage that day that I remember, you know, I wrote down their names. I was sneaking around, like writing names and looking them up and all that kind of stuff. That could have been the day I did my first model. That could have been the day I catapulted some kind of makeup career that I didn't really have. I mean, I should not have ever been a makeup artist, and that was not for me. But this side of things I love, and being able to watch and document you, like seeing you work in the flesh, is something, you know, I'll never. It was just.
Well, thank you.
Oh my God.
I appreciate that. The blondes, speaking of the blondes, what a fantastic experience, especially with them as designers. It's so over the top and so opulent and so fashion. I mean, really, you're in the trenches. You know, they have good models, and the makeup, they let you do whatever you want. They were really great to work for. So that was a really good experience for all of us.
Yes.
And I still try and do that. Like, people, it's hard for me to keep up with the messages and stuff that, you know, people send to me. I try to answer them, and I try and get to them, but I miss a lot. And certainly in my career, I've missed lots and lots and lots. So if anybody that's listening, I apologize if you haven't already hung up on us because you're mad. But, you know, never underestimate who you reach out to, because people do read your messages and your phone might ring. You know, people hit me up all the time, and, you know, I'll call them and say, yeah, why don't you do this or come with me to that or whatever.
Speaking of that, so if somebody said, you know, you are amazing, I want to assist you, what makes like a great assistant, and how would somebody get that opportunity to assist you?
Well, I have had, in different times in my career, there were different requirements, and a lot of it is just my gut. I mean, it's always been my gut, and it's more about where your head is at, whether you're really a makeup artist and that's really your motivation, or you really just want to be in that world and you think that you want to be famous, and that's your goal is to become famous, and it's not about the art and it's not about the craft. That's a big, gigantic get the hell out of here moment for me. Like, the second that I figure that out about somebody will be the last time I see them, typically. But I have had some of the greatest assistants, all of them now very successful working makeup artists, but one in particular is Mario.
Dedivanovic.
The Mario.
Wow.
I can't even pronounce his damn last name. Never been able to. But, you know, I wouldn't say that I discovered Mario, but, you know, he certainly assisted other people. But Samuel Paul is another makeup artist. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Super talented.
Love him.
They, as kids, literally, from the moment I met them, I was like, you better hire them, because they're going to be taking your job soon. You know what I mean? So they better be working for you. Like, that talented.
Wow.
And I knew that what they needed to be successful was learning not about being a makeup artist, but learning the craft of how to act as a makeup artist, how to be a professional, how to conduct yourself, what's important, what's not important, having ethics and, you know, those kinds of things, you know, is hopefully, you know, what they learned from me. I don't know, you know, they were so talented. Even when I met them, I can't imagine I taught them anything. But Mario has said very, very kind things about me. There's something posted about me. He has like this thing called The Legends or whatever. You know, he said the sweetest things about me, and I really appreciate that. But, you know, I'm his number one fan and couldn't be happier for his success. It's, you know, it's another story for people to really pay attention to. Mario is like a singer, and this is what I've always said about singers. There are singers, hundreds of them, thousands of them, that sing in church on every Sunday that can out-sing Whitney, Mariah, Christina, all of them, and no one will ever know. No one, unless you go to that church, You will never hear their name. And there are makeup artists, I'm sure hundreds of them, that will be the same way. Social media has allowed those people to become stars in their own right, and there are many of them, too many to mention, that I'm huge fans of, that will probably only always do makeup on themselves, extraordinary makeup on themselves in their bathroom with a shower curtain as the background. They'll never have the success that I have or that Mario has or whatever. It's just the way it is. But it's that way across the board, whether it's a singer, an actor. There's a lot of luck involved. There's a lot of luck, and there's a lot of magic involved. And, there are no shortcuts. Mario, had an opportunity to work with a reality star. And at the time, a reality star that was plagued with the fact that she became one from a sex tape. Everybody forgets that. I mean, the audience now is too young; they don't even remember that.
Right.
But at that time, people on my level thought twice about working with a reality star. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not like it is now, where they are. Kim Kardashian is more famous than Sharon Stone, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Mario, that's where he started, and that was his ticket right out of the gate. Luckily for Mario, he had what it took. He had the talent to be able to ride that wave, because many people that might have been doing her makeup wouldn't have had that same opportunity as him to shine like that. Mario could probably retire tomorrow.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, he shows his penthouse.
He's getting paid, honey.
Yes,
he's getting paid.
And when I see that masterclass and he's filling auditoriums, I'm like, God.
Yeah, with freaking $10,000 tickets or something. I'm like, okay, you're good, but you're not that good, bitch. Do you know what I mean? Whatever the prices are. I mean, I'm kind of joking, but God have mercy. Good Lord. But you know what? More power to him. More power to him.
That is so true. It's, one of these things that, we talk about all the time is people knowing their worth. And he's like, you know what? I think the tickets are definitely over $1,000, I think. But yeah,
they are.
I know you have to.
But I will say this about Mario. Mario is very, very, certainly at the time that he was working with me, very shy, really quiet. He still is. He's a very sweet person. I think that culturally for him, it was complicated with him choosing being a makeup artist, with his family and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't easy for him. It was the kind of thing that, just like my family didn't want me to move to New York. They thought it was the asshole of the world. They were like, we're not giving you one penny to go there. It's nothing but heathens and whores and whatever. I'm from the Bible Belt in Mississippi, raised Baptist. That's the last place they wanted me to be. It was like Sodom and Gomorrah. And I think that his family, probably felt the same way about him being a makeup artist in a way. Was, can't you be anything but that, because of the connotations that go along with it and whatever. And he overcame that. And, he's very, very close to his family, but he's so shy that I think that just now, because I don't see him often, but I watch his stuff, and I've watched him blossom and kind of bloom his personality to where I think he's really enjoying it now. I hope so. Yeah. Where he's learning to kind of deal with that kind of attention, because he's as famous as Kim.
Yeah, I'm noticing.
It's crazy.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And just to see when people see him, I remember one day he had walked by before his class, and the way that the people were screaming, he was.
I'm not scream like he's
Kardashian.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he is, I guess.
Yeah.
But he does beautiful, beautiful makeup.
Yeah.
He deserves what he's gotten. It happened very quick for him. And I think probably it's easy for a lot of people to resent that, people who've been in the game for a long time. Mm-hmm. But you know what? You take it when you can get it, and you better take it, because it doesn't last forever. So, I hope he's making a lot of money, and I hope he's being smart with it. because he ain't gonna have to work much longer if he is.
Yeah, I love that. And speaking of which, I wanted to make this, I guess, not a hypothesis, but kind of. I feel like at a certain point, the two things that turned like the world into makeup junkies were like well, maybe not the world, but a lot of us was the Housewives.
No, it's the world. It's the world.
Okay, good. Thank you. The Housewives of Atlanta. It was like every episode they'd be in like full drag, and there was a time when Mario did a tutorial showing how he did Kim's makeup, and that's when he introduced us to like banana powder, and we were like, oh, we all have to highlight under our eyes. We have to highlight and contour.
Right.
You know,
right?
What?
Honey, but let me just say, whose kid had the banana powder first?
Right. Right.
I'm just kidding, Mario, if you're listening. But you know, that's what assisting is about.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's part of it. You know, I never assisted, but certainly when I became a makeup artist and had assistants, and have had many of them, and you know, you saw backstage on that show, you have 20 or 30 at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if an assistant only worked with me one time, the value of what they got to learn in that amount of time, not because I'm a genius, just logistically, what powder I use, not necessarily how I use it or some kind of technique. It doesn't even matter. It's, you know, hell yeah, you find the most ridiculous, fake-looking, bright orange whatever that makes, you know, Naomi look amazing. That's the powder you get.
Yeah.
You know, that was the way it worked. I mean, I'm a self-taught makeup artist, so I really benefited from not, and this is important, so hear this. I never had anybody tell me that won't work. So do you know how valuable that is? So I didn't have one, I was balls out. Like whatever works, works. And because I taught myself, that is my greatest gift, I think, that the universe gave me.
That's amazing.
Is that nobody ever said that won't work. So I tried everything and I found what works for myself. And that was a huge part of my success, I think. So really the message in this is, you know, when somebody tells you that won't work, I don't care if you're in school, if it's regular school, high school, college, whether you're working, whatever it is, when somebody tells you that won't work, this is the thing. All that means is it didn't work for them. That's what that means. So, you know, I would go to beauty supplies and immediately go to really the theatrical part, especially for women of color. You brought up it's your fault. You brought up the banana powder. But like Missy, really, really artificial yellows, you know, really yellow powder, like, you know, mustard colored powder and stuff. Like, you know, when you have really brown skin like that, to brighten it up, you know, those become your, you know, such a huge part of what you have to have. That is, it's not part of the icing of the cake. It is the cake. You don't have anything without it. That's the way I look at it.
Wow.
Yeah, you've got to have that. Well, if you study Naomi's makeup, and Tyra, you know, Tyra, somebody showed me a quote or sent me a quote recently. You know, Tyra came out with her own color line or whatever, and so she was doing a bunch of press about that. And she said that really her secret to success and her passion for beauty and makeup and all that kind of stuff came from having the opportunity to work with the legendary greats like Kevin and whatever. And I happened to be on that list, and I was so incredibly flattered. But, you know, that's how you learn. That's how models learn. That's how makeup artists learn. I've learned from models. Models have learned from me. I've learned from assistants. You learn, you take it where you can get it. You know, and if you're open to it and if you're present, and, you know, you're open to seeing it, it's everywhere. You can learn something every day, everywhere, whether you're backstage at a fashion show or not. Wow. It's the truth. That's the truth.
Oh, I love that.
So, you know, when you're shopping for makeup, keep an open mind. You know, honey, eyeshadow, it might say eyeshadow. To me, it's a lip color. I don't give a shit. You know, it's color in a package.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. And so, you know, like, that was part of, I mean, I've talked enough about this, but that was really the beauty of me not ever studying anything, was because I had to figure it out. I didn't have a choice. And the best education that you will ever have, no matter who you are, is trial and error.
Oh, my God.
And it don't cost a dime. That's how you learn, because you know what, you fuck up a couple of times and you don't do it anymore. You know, if it doesn't work. So, you know, trial and error, it's that simple. That's how I did it. That's how I taught myself, was trial and error. You just have to do it. You have to dive in. You just have to do it.
That is everything. That lesson is everything, because so many of us want a blueprint. Even I today was trying to figure out what I'm doing with this podcast right now. And I'm like, I got to figure this out. I got to figure it out. And my
like
brother.
Your formula and all that stuff.
Yes.
But, you know, I'll say to the people that are listening, before you guys tuned in, we were on the phone for about 5 minutes. And I said to her, all right, are we going to talk about what we're going to talk about? Do you have questions, or am I supposed to have questions, or whatever? We were talking about that amongst ourselves, trying to figure out what we were going to do for the podcast. And you said to me, and I loved it, and it was so flattering, I don't need questions with you because it will just be what it is. Yes. That's your formula. That's it. You already know what it is. Is you let it be what it is. And in terms of makeup, I will say this. What really disturbs me about this digital world that we're in, and it will never be any other way, is when I started, it wasn't digital. Photographers shot film that had to be developed, and you know, you couldn't judge the makeup because there weren't monitors for digital or all that kind of stuff. There was a real Polaroid, and you know, the face was as big as your thumbnail. It was a different time. It was a different world. And now it's such a world of, if you go into a project, you know, no matter what it is, whether it's this podcast tonight, when you were thinking about this podcast and how it was going to be, or whether I'm thinking about a job that I'm going to be doing next week, you can think about it and you can plan all day long. And what you will do is miss so many opportunities if it's not going the way that you want it to go. And you thought you wanted to do this particular look on an eye, right? You want to try this eye that you've been dying to do, or this eyeshadow or whatever. You will get so caught up in trying to do that you will miss the magical opportunities of the mistake that you made that's better than what you were trying to do.
Ooh.
And so, you know, I always say that to makeup artists that I work with is, take your time, be in the moment, and the face will tell you what to do. Don't tell it what to do. It will tell you what it needs. It will tell you what to do. And that has always been the way that I approached makeup. And so, you know, I mean, there are some really high profile examples of this, like in the Bad Romance video. The moment when Gaga, she has that rat thing on her head, and it's really, really, really tight. It's natural makeup, but I did a band lash. And, that video took on its own life, so we weren't going by storyboards or anything. It was just, it became what it was going to become.
Oh.
And I knew that when we were doing it, it was something special. And so she started crying in that shot. Wow. And I saw that lash on the inner corner lift up because the glue got wet. And there's a moment in the video where you can see that the corner of that lash is lifted. And I, not for 1 second, thought, I'm going to stop this, because you have the power to do that as a makeup artist. You know, stop, I have to fix this or whatever. It wasn't about that. It wasn't about that lash. That moment in that video, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's an eye. You know what I mean? If I had stopped it, then that magic, that little few seconds of magic would have been redirected. Who knows? It could have redirected the entire rest of the video into something else that it wouldn't have become what it is. so that's the other thing. There is beauty in mistakes. And, you know, the more that people sort of own that, the easier your life in every way will be. It's not just about makeup. That's a powerful statement. And, you know, it's something that applies to so many things in your life. There are such beautiful mistakes that you'll make in your life, and you have to let them happen. You know, you can't let it all be perfect. You're going to miss opportunities that way. Hallelujah. I'm just kidding.
Yes, it's that.
But now everybody's Googling that Bad Romance video to see that moment. But,
you have no idea.
There's a lot of things like that in my career where, you know, and for a minute you do have a pang of like, oh God, I'm never going to live this down. You know, 1 million people are going to be reading me online. You know, how did that get left in? Blah, blah, blah. And it just never happened. And the reason why is because nobody cares. That's my point, is it's so powerful that no one notices. But now when you go back, you're going to be like, holy shit, look at that. Half her lashes lifted up.
I cannot wait to
Anyway, what were we talking about? See, we do go on tangents.
Exactly. I have no idea what we were talking about, but that was phenomenal. I live for all of it. Wow.
So we were talking about Mario.
Yes.
And assistants.
Yes.
No, I have had the most amazing, loyal assistants. You know, I've been super, super blessed with that. And, you know, many of them have gone on to, you know, really, really, really to be very, very successful, you know, more successful than me in some cases, like Mario. You know, and it's great. Yeah. You know, it's fabulous. I don't know of an assistant that I can't stand, really.
Oh, that's good.
I did a really good job. I was just thinking about that. I can't think of one that I hate.
That's good.
You know what I mean? Or one that I'm like, ugh, you know, when you bump into them, you're like, oh, shit. No, they were all kind of like my, you know, I don't know, my peeps, I guess.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. So, okay, let me ask, I guess, back on the celebrity side of things. Do you ever see celebrities now that you've worked with and think, like back in the day, celebrities, and we're going to go down this list. I have a few names, but do you ever think, I wish they would call me because I need to hook them up? Do you ever think that?
I don't think it as much as other people think it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Very publicly to where it's awkward for me. Like, you know, people will tweet me or, you know, publicly say, for God's sake, would you please go do so-and-so's makeup again or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and it's awkward because usually I know whoever the makeup artist is that they're working with, and I try and respond to everybody. So if it's on Twitter, you have to respond. You know, people are very, very passionate about artists that they love, you know. Gaga has the most ravenous fans I've ever seen, and Pink, the same thing. I mean, those fans would throw themselves in front of a train for her. But either one of them. You know, it's crazy. And they're very, very invested. Britney, the Britney army, don't fuck with them, honey. They will come for you. They will slit your throat. Yeah, that was, I witnessed that full on working with Britney. Either they love you or hate you, and you better watch your back, honey, because you'll have a knife in it.
That is insane. Should we?
Yeah, no, they take it really seriously, really seriously. But yeah, I mean, I miss, you know, your time ends with people. I kind of had an extraordinary career in that all of my relationships with artists lasted a really long time, like decade, you know, like, you know, really very bookended. Like Gaga, I did the Fame Monster album cover with her, was the first job with Hedy Slimane. And the last was the Born This Way video, and every single thing in between, except for maybe a few things that Val Garland did or, you know, a couple of other makeup artists. But for the most part, that part of her career, that meteoric, unprecedented rise to superstardom, was all my work. I mean, it was an amazing, amazing experience. Missy, the Rain video, She's a Bitch, all of that whole era of Missy, Lauryn Hill, that era. Mary, 10 years. Mariah, 10 years, more than 10 years. Someday, Hero, all of that. I did her wedding, her first wedding. Pink, I did her wedding.
Wow.
So, long, really long, amazing relationships with amazing artists, amazing people, amazing human beings. I've been so lucky.
Oh my God. Oof.
So yeah, you get attached, and it does hurt. It's for whatever reason, whether it's their choice that they move on or it's your choice. You cannot live that life with somebody and experience the things that this is going to make me cry. I feel like I'm going to cry right now. I can't cry on a damn podcast.
Yes, you can.
But I cry if somebody wins a car on The Price is Right, so I'm not surprised. But, I did, Alicia asked me to do her when she did the tribute to the Wizard of Oz on the, for the Academy Awards.
Oof, wow.
And her wedding. When you experience those moments with people, that's like being in the delivery room when somebody has a damn baby.
Yeah.
If you've never been in that world, it's hard to imagine, that's a mouthful what I just said, but it really is.
Yeah.
And it's things that you don't forget. Mary, I guess you know this, but I wrote the treatment for No More Drama. Mary had written No More Drama. It was, very, very important to her, the song and the message. And she called me one night. We didn't chat on the phone. We didn't have that kind of relationship. Okay. We worked, and we were completely devoted to one another, and we had a good time when we worked, but I didn't see her socially. We didn't go out to dinner. We didn't have lunch. We didn't chat on the phone. It wasn't like that. And one night my phone rang late, and I answered it, and it was her, Mary. I didn't even know she had my phone number. She was like, Billy, it's Mary. And I'm like, Mary who? It was the last person I was expecting. And she said, listen, one time we were talking. I couldn't believe that she remembered this. And she said, you told me that I'm so driven visually as an artist. And I think that it's because I've never been diagnosed, but I'm sure that I have every learning disability known to man. I probably should still be in high school. I should probably have been held back 35 years. But I think that I excelled creatively because of that. So I look at it as a blessing. But with that being said, Mary and I were talking about that one day, and I said to her, I don't know if it's a gift or a curse, but I can hear a song, and literally the visuals will just appear in my head, a storyline, all the way down to what the makeup looks like. It's crazy. It doesn't happen all the time. But when something really rings resonates with me, that's what can happen. And she said, are you by yourself? And I said, yeah. And she said, I'm in the studio, but if I put this song on, will you listen to it? I'm going to stay on the phone and then just see if that happens. Oh. And she played No More Drama. And the second it was over, she comes back on the phone and she was like, so, did it happen? And the video, as you know it, I said to her, shot by shot, all the way down to what she would look like in that moment. And it became the video. That's what she went with. And so then we had to find a director that would agree to, because she had said no to every treatment from every big director on both coasts. That was where she didn't have anybody to go to. She was like, I can't find anybody that really gets what this song means to me. So when you have a moment like that with somebody, when they get nominated for an Oscar, you're like their mama.
Yeah.
Like anything good, I haven't seen Mary in a long time, but anything that happens for her, I can't imagine her mom being any more proud than I am.
Wow.
You take it that personally. You're not supposed to get invested like that. It's not a good idea. Just in terms of protecting yourself, you kind of have to keep it moving and not get caught up personally.
Uh-huh.
But it's hard not to when you're working with people for 10 years.
Ooh, wow.
So
Yeah, that says a lot because I definitely remember the video. I remember her wiping her tears away on that video, and then so many concerts after that where she sings that song and just loses herself in it.
loses it. She loses it. She literally goes into it's like an out of body experience for her. And if you see her live, when you watch her perform it live, it's an out of body experience for everyone. Really, it's powerful. But it didn't end there. So then years later, I don't know the name of the song, but do you know the video? It's in black and white. Terrence Howard is the love interest. I wrote the treatment to that one too.
Shit, hold on.
I can't remember the name of it.
I was like, is it Tim? I am. Let me see. I'm Googling. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Right. Anyway, the same thing. She called me one night and said, here we go again. I want to play something for you and see if it happens.
Be Without You.
Yeah, Be Without You. Right. And literally same thing, shot by shot, every single thing, her looking at herself in the mirror, all of that came to me in that moment. And I told her verbally, and then it was finding a director that would shoot it. And so Matthew Ralston, who I've worked with for a long time and we respect each other a lot, agreed to direct it. And it is directed exactly, it looks exactly the way I saw it in my mind.
Oh my God, are you a director too? Do you need to add that to your resume?
No, I'm too intimidated to do it. Like, I probably could have, I guess. I mean, it's funny. In hindsight, I look at it and I'm like, well, sure, I could have done it. It looks exactly like the way I thought it would in my mind. But trust me, there's a lot more to it than that. A lot. So, and the person, I can't even remember who directed the No More Drama video, was like this super eccentric young kid that definitely visually took it to another level.
Wow.
Yeah. All of it, it takes a village, honey. It's, you know, when you're a makeup artist, that's the other huge lesson for a makeup artist. It's not all about the makeup. You're never going to be successful if that's what you think. Sometimes it's about the hair, and that's what it's supposed to be about. And a really good makeup artist is able to recognize that. It's not about the eyelash lifting up. It's about her performance in that moment. And I think that having long relationships with people, the way that I approached that kind of stuff was part of the reason I was around for so long. It's because I really always kept things in perspective, or tried to. You know, it's not always about the lip. You know, it's about an overall thing that sometimes is no makeup. And then one more thing about the No More Drama video and no makeup. So part of that treatment was she couldn't wear makeup.
Oh.
And she was like, oh, I don't know about that. And I was like, no, Mary, it's part of the thing. You asked me. I'm telling you. You got to take all that weave out of your head. Your hair, it's got to be, you got to have some nappy edges if that's what you know. Yeah. It cannot be overdone. And if you go back and look at it, she almost has no makeup on, literally almost nothing on her skin. And, well, when she wipes that tear away, you can see there's nothing, that's in real time. It was one take.
Wow.
And she goes, well, shit, can I have some damn nails? And I was like, yeah, you can have a red nail.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait to watch that too.
Yeah. No, when you know those things, actually, I just got back from, like a couple of months ago, I went to Dallas, Fort Worth, and I came up with this kind of, it's like my own little TED talk, I guess. Mm-hmm. But it was called Behind the Paint, and I chose 10 music videos, 10 iconic music videos from my career, and edited them together. And it was like basically, 20 or 30 people that were in the, I guess, class, and so we watched the videos, and then they would ask me questions, but I would tell the stories of this and the really kind of life-changing experiences that I've had doing that, and what I learned as a makeup artist, like valuable life lessons that I learned from certain things. I learned something like that on everything I've ever done, but one that really, really stood out. And it was, just 2 hours of that, and it was profound. People had a really great time. And so I'm thinking about, taking it on the road.
Do it. ASAP.
Right? No, it was really cool. And that's kind of where my head is at now. It's, you know, what do you do after you've had the career that I've had? You know, on the Born This Way video, I was like a mess. I didn't know why. I thought I was having a nervous breakdown. I had to leave and I would go cry and then have to go back to set. And I didn't know what was going on, really. Then the next day, well, it was, you know, the video was a few days. I was so exhausted and so emotional, and it had been such an extraordinary experience, and I was just drained. And then it just hit me. And I've not told anybody this. Okay. You're the only person I've ever told this to.
Yeah, it's exclusive.
I knew that I had to walk away from her, and that was going to be the last thing that I did, because I knew that after that 3 years or whatever that we did together, and that sort of bookended work and the things that we had done together, the red carpets and so many, you know, pop culture moments, you know, like that'll go down in history. Yeah. And it was, you know, on that shoot, I was just like, what else is there for me to do? There's nothing else for me to do. And then this is the real big one that I've not told anybody. And then.
All right. So if you thought this episode was great, just wait until you see what we have in episode 22. Here's a quick preview.
I think that I wouldn't say anything I've ever done has gone viral, but it's one of the funniest things I ever did. And people come up to me all the time, and way more people saw it than I thought. But when this all started, the whole contour and highlight thing, I tweeted, in social media, all I said was, contour isn't a trend, people. That's all I said. And people just thought that it was the most hysterical, rebellious thing that anybody could have ever said. Contour is nothing new. Kim didn't start it. Mario didn't invent it. I'm sorry. It goes back, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years, and far better with far better results than what it is now. And listen, you don't need shit brown on your face to be contoured. As a matter of fact, that's the last thing you need.
I loved it. I loved every second of it. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. If you like the episode, I would love it if you would share it with someone who would benefit or might not know they even needed to hear this episode. And I would love to get more people exposed to the podcast. So I thank you very much for all of your shares and for your comments and everything. As always, you can follow us on Instagram at Scandalous Beauty. I also have loaded show notes. So if you come on over to scandalousbeautyonline.com, you can see all of the episodes we've ever recorded. Plus, you'll have the show notes for today's episode with a lot of the links and resources that Billy talked about. So I want to thank you again for listening. You guys are amazing. Thank you for all of the support. And I will see you next week for part 2 with Billy B. Peace.